I got some wintry creeps for my creepy peeps. Hey pals, Alicia here. I hope you are doing well. And if you're new here, this is the place where we talk about books. It is almost the beginning of winter, so I thought it would be a great time to recommend some wintry, seasonal, spooky books. I've got a little stack of books here. I've got 6 books that I have read and then 5 books that I haven't read yet. So like 6 recommendations and then 5 TBR. And these are all kind of spooky, seasonal, wintry books. Some of them are like straight up horror, and then some of them are more kind of like mystery and atmospheric. So without further ado, let's just dive in and get our creep on. The first book that I have here is like the quintessential book that I think of when I think of like a wintry, like a moody wintry read, and that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is more of a drama than a horror. Like this isn't a horror at all, but this definitely has the like moody, atmospheric, like dark, seasonal winter vibes. For sure. So this is more of a historical fiction. Burial Rites is set in 1828, and we are following a fictionalized version of the very real story of the last public execution in Iceland. And this was a public execution of a woman who was accused of murder. So in this, we are following basically the lead up after the crime to this woman's execution, where while she is waiting to be executed, she is sent to this very remote town, to this home to basically wait to die. So the whole book is about this woman. It is about the family that she is staying with while she is waiting to be executed, and the priest who is coming to read her last rites and kind of understand this woman a bit. And so this is dark, it is moody, it is atmospheric, it's in the like dark kind of like winter of Iceland. It's just so beautifully written. The sense of place is so perfectly captured. So I definitely recommend reading this book at any time, but I think reading it in winter would be particularly special. Big recommends for Burial Rites. Next up, we've got Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rites. This is a novel that is told in 2 parts. One is set in fall and the second is set in winter. And this is set in a small Anishinaabe community in northern Canada. And something is happening in the world. There's been some sort of crisis where power just stops working. So the rest of the like southern world is just gone crazy. They've gone wild because there's no power. It's definitely like an apocalyptic, at the cusp of an apocalypse. But this northern remote community, they are quite self-sufficient. They have lots of stores, like they prepare for kind of dark winters every year anyways. So they are well equipped to kind of ride it out for a while and also have very little connection to what is going on in the South. That is until some white people from the South come up to this community seeking refuge and safety. And then it turns much more dark and sinister from there. This is definitely like creeping and slow, and the atmosphere and sense of place are so well described. Like I had to like get under a blanket while I was reading these because I felt really like chilly and creepy. This is definitely like an apocalyptic tale. There's like some monsters and mythology and lore weaved into here. I absolutely loved this. Big recommends for Waubgeshig Rites. Next up, we've got Other Voices, Other Tombs, a horror anthology collection edited by Brehl and Sullivan. And I will admit, this one feels like a bit of a stretch because this is it's a horror short story collection. So I feel like you could read this in the fall just as much as you could in winter. But I put this on this list because there's something about horror short stories that just, I really love reading them in the winter, in the cold, in the dark. I guess it's just like winter is that kind of season where everything is dead or dying, everything is kind of cold. So horror short stories just feel really nice to read at that point of time, kind of like matching the mood. Though there is one story in here that is very specifically set in winter. It's set in like a snowy season. It's like a snow ice like horror, and I absolutely love that. That was my favorite story in this collection and is the one that kind of made me gravitate toward this. So this is a horror anthology collection with a whole bunch of stories from a bunch of different authors. The one that was sticking out to me is Alone in the Dark by J.D. McGregor. That was my absolute favorite story in this collection and is the wintery one. But there were also stories by Cameron Chaney and Michael Wehunt, Gemma Files, and Anya Alborn in here as well. There were also like 5-star stories. This was just an awesome collection. There were no duds in this, but some absolutely amazing stories. And gotta get some creepy winter days, some creepy reads for some creepy days. Next up, we've got Taaqtumi, an anthology of Arctic horror stories. This is an anthology horror collection that compiles horror short stories from Inuk authors, and these are all stories about living in the Arctic. And so Taaqtumi, it's an Inuktitut word meaning in the dark, and these stories kind of talk about the environment of the Arctic. And so lots of stories are very set in nature, in like the dark, in the wilderness, lots of kind of like isolation and horror stories about winter essentially. And I absolutely love this collection. There was one story about this creepy door that kept popping up in the like snowy wilderness, and that was like such a creepy story. There were stories about animals in nature, like a polar bear attacking a mother and her daughter. And then there were also stories just like about the horrors of colonialism in general and the threat to, you know, colonialism on Indigenous communities. So you've got like a real mix of perspective and themes in this, but these all felt wintry in the sense that they are all in the setting of snow. There's like lots of snow and cold and chilly themes throughout this, though they may not exclusively be set in the winter. The Arctic is quite a cold place. Next up, we got another horror, thriller, adventure horror story. We've got The White Road by Sarah Lotz. This is one of my favorite books of the year. This is like adventure horror. This is environment horror, like isolation horror. In this, we are following a man named Simon. He runs a blog where he basically posts photos of like things that are dark. It's like welcome to the dark side kind of thing. And he is always keen to go out to these places like, you know, mountaintops or deep dark caves where possibly somebody has died there. He's all about like capturing the dark and tragic sides of life. And he gets invited to go climb Everest, and he decides to do it because he knows that there are dead bodies all over Everest. So he's going to go basically climb Everest to exploit the tragedies of this mountain and put them on his blog. So Simon is kind of one of those horrible protagonists that you hate to follow, but you also like can't stop looking. And the majority of this book is set in the pursuit of the summit of Everest. So it is very cold. It is very like snowy. So I guess in my collection of these stories, my themes tying them together wasn't necessarily winter, but snow. So there you go. It's the snow themed books. I absolutely love this. It was not perfect by any means, but this was just one of those books that was so fun. I absolutely love this. And it made me never want to climb Everest. Not that I wanted to before, but now I even less want to do that. And finally, the last book that I have read that I recommend was the one that made me want to film this video, and that is Mind of Winter by Laura Kasischke. This is a family drama horror, and this novel is all set in one day, and that day is Christmas Day. So if there is one book from this list that I'm like, you gotta read it right now, that is Mind of Winter. So Mind of Winter continues to be the book that has a twist that shocked me the most. So in this, we are following a mother named Holly, and she wakes up on Christmas Day and she's getting the house ready for a family Christmas dinner, and her teenage daughter, Tatiana, is just acting like a bit of a bitch. So Holly is like trying to get the house ready for Christmas. She's trying to get this family dinner ready, but just like throughout the day, Tatiana just starts acting weirder and weirder and weirder. And Holly's just like, what's going on? Why is my daughter being like this? And so this is a stream of consciousness novel. We are in Holly, the mother's mind, and we are just like following her throughout the day, getting ready for Christmas and dealing with a shitty teenage daughter. And I don't want to say anything else, but you need to read this, and I think you should read it on Christmas. This is the only book that I have ever thrown across the room after reading it because it messed me up that much. It messed me up. I was messed up. Those are 6 books that I have read and definitely recommend. And now I have 5 other books that were on my shelf that have wintry themes that I think I'm going to try and read in the next little while. So this is kind of like an undated TBR for myself. So the first one I've got here is a bit of a popular one. I have seen so many people talking about this book and loving this book, and that is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I'm not actually sure if this is specifically set on Christmas or around Christmas, but it is about a place called Christmas Land. We are following a girl named Vic, and she is really good at finding things. Whenever she rides her bike across this bridge, she always seems to end up where she needs to be or finding the thing that she needs to find. And then there's also like this psycho murderer guy named Charlie Manx, and he has this place called Christmas Land where he brings people, and I guess it's like some sort of like evil, horrible like amusement park. And then Vic and Charlie Manx's lives become intertwined in some way. This is a horror novel. It seems really Christmassy on the cover. We've got like a bloody gingerbread man. I have not read anything by Joe Hill yet, and I think if I was going to start, I would start with Nosferatu. This seems to be the one that I hear the most things about, and I love a seasonal horror. I love a Christmassy horror. So why not? Let me know if this is worth the hype. So next up, what I am most excited about on this list to get to soon is the Silent Night trilogy by R.L. Stein. This kind of bind up includes Silent Night, Silent Night 2, and wait for it, Silent Night 3. So I actually forgot that I owned this book, but I was watching Nakia's Hideaway the other day, and if you aren't following Nakia's Hideaway yet, just please go do that. I will link her information below. She is incredibly charming, and I absolutely love her videos. And she was talking about reading Silent Night over the holidays, and then I was just like, wait, I own that too. So I think I picked this up in like a thrift store, and I was super just attracted to the like kind of weird like see-through step backs here. In this trilogy, we are following Riva, who is the richest, snobbiest, and nastiest person in Shadyside. And I believe in each edition, she's being like tormented by Santa in some way. So she's just a bad bitch who gets harassed, sometimes by Santa, maybe sometimes by like villains. And so she's kidnapped in one of these editions. She's kidnapped. She gets some terror in her stalking in one of them. She's being stalked in one of them. So Riva is just snobby and is having a rough time around Christmas. So I think I will be diving into these very soon. So next up, we've got a bit of a two-for-one, and that is The Hunger by Alma Katsu and The Indifferent Stars Above by Daniel James Brown. This is the non-fiction true story, and then The Hunger is the horror adaptation. And both of these books are about the Donner Party. And the Donner Party was a group of pioneer settlers who in 1846 were attempting to cross the Sierra Nevada mountains right at the cusp of winter. And unfortunately, they were led astray, led in the wrong direction. Something went wrong and they got stuck in these mountains. It was an absolute tragedy. Cannibalism was involved, and they are a bit of a, like a real life urban legend now at this point. So I bought both of these books at the same time with the goal of reading them back to back. I was thinking about reading The Hunger first and then the true account afterwards to just kind of see what was what. I have a friend who really, really hated The Hunger though, so it's been taking me a while to actually get to them. So yeah, these are wintery, cannibal, true, based on true events stories. So that's scary. Don't want to get stuck in the winter. You eat your friends. Heck no. And finally, the last spooky, creepy, wintry book that I have on my TBR is Bone White by Ronald Malfi. This is kind of a mystery, thriller, horror. In this, we are following a man named Paul, whose brother, I believe it was his twin brother went missing a year ago in the Alaskan wilderness. And now there has been this kind of like mass grave that has been found in Alaska in the same area that his brother went missing. So he goes to this small remote community hoping to get answers, hoping to find out what happened to his brother. And I believe that just kind of opens up this entire world with so many more questions and so much more horror. So we've got Alaskan wilderness, winter, murder, missing brothers in the woods, mass graves. What else could you want? So I am really looking forward to this one as well. Alaskan murders. So there you have it, pals. There are 11 books all about winter, all about snow, all set around the kind of dead season, the dead, cold season. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought. Let me know if you want to read any of them, and we can chat about it. So thanks again for being here, pals. I absolutely love talking about books with you all. So take care out there, stay safe, stay spooky, and until next time, see you back!